Sure, whatever. I don't fucking know how to say that name. Ashley? Ashley? Anyways, let's resume where we left off. And let's start episode 2 of the I won't say director's cut, but that's I don't think that's what it's called. Commentary, that's what I was thinking of. Commentary of me listening to it with you guys for the first time. And see what it's all about.
When I was originally thinking about how to write the music for the game, I suddenly realised that you don't see anybody in the game.
That's true.
And the most important character as such is the island itself. So one of the things that I did with the music was to write the island as if she or he were a character in its own right. And that's really important, I think, that you're going through this space and actually it's completely devoid of people, but the music in a way populates the island and that the voice of the island speaks to you through the music.
Which is interesting because I think that's really come on in terms of later games we've done, that sowed the seeds for the way in which we approach music in Rapture, where it was very specifically the voice of characters. A Machine for Pigs as well, where the music was about being Lily's voice in the game, Lily's representation in the game.
Oh, really? They did Machine for Pigs and stuff in Rapture and stuff? That's kind of interesting. I did not know. I don't know anything about anything they did, but that's so interesting. I did not know they did that.
So it's interesting how, looking back on Esther, a lot of those kind of ideas were tried out here that then came on to take other forms in stuff we've done since.
Sorry, I didn't mean to speak over him. So I forget sometimes I'm still recording stuff and stuff. It's over there somewhere where I saw like a figure of somebody and stuff. But since they said no one's else is here, I'm kind of confused now. I was like, maybe that thing I saw wasn't a figure, because I'm pretty sure maybe they hit it out later. So I'm not sure. I think this way is the right way. I think this way is maybe a different way to go down there, or maybe a dead end. I'm not really sure. Again, I wish they had running mode or something. That would help out a lot.
All right, let's talk about walking. Let's do it. We're gonna address.
Oh, here we go. That's what I wanted. I just told you guys about trust people. I did not listen to these yet. This is all new to me too. I did not know they were gonna talk about walking. I knew they maybe didn't talk about it at some point, hopefully, but trust me, I didn't know at all that this is the one they finally talk about it. So hopefully they talk about it a long time. You know, at least get 2-3 minutes of why they do this, why no running, why no jumping, why does every button except the moving around is, and the look around and everything else is just zooming in, why there no like interaction or anything like that.
The elephant in the room, the very, very slow moving elephant in the room. So this might be a longer conversation because it kind of fits with that. So Esther was the first of the what are now called walking simulators, and it was really interesting that for us it didn't feel that weird to have a game that was slower than normal, where actually there was lots of time to just walk around and think and look at things. And it was amazing at the time how this was seen as completely revolutionary, and it's really interesting, and it's amazing to see how many other games have kind of like taken it on board. For me, it came from, I didn't see it as being odd to have a game where very little happened, where you thought about what you were doing. For me, it was kind of interesting that you could play some of the best moments in Doom are the bits where nothing's happening and you're just doing it, or System Shock, or those games that I absolutely love. Those quiet moments were the really powerful ones. But Esther is definitely slower than a lot of games, and I think that's actually why it's lasted. I think if we did have moments where we went, should it be faster, should we put a sprint button in, but I'm so pleased that we kind of held our nerve and went, no, just as like in real life, I don't run everywhere because that would be weird. It's okay to have a game where you don't run everywhere, and actually it is a bit weird to run everywhere, but if you're going to do that, then you've got to support it in other ways, and I think the music was a really powerful way of supporting that change of pace.
What's really funny for me though, Dan, is that shamefully, I'd never played a game before I worked on Dear Esther, so I didn't realise that all games weren't like this, which is now looking back really naive. But I didn't realise that games didn't have, always have, this slow pace, and I thought there were lots of meditative games out there, and that actually wasn't really the case at the time, and that's exploded since. But in terms of the music, supporting that pace that you'd set emotionally felt really important. So if you listen to the music, actually the BPM is at a very slow walking speed, and it just almost, there's a lot of things now that say it's called entrainment, that it slows your heartbeat, or it can speed up your heartbeat when you listen to music. And actually I think what the Esther music does really successfully is it makes you almost accept, and more than accept, that speed. You actually start to feel that's the pace of your journey, and that I really like that about the music, actually.
It makes you just comfortable with that pace too. I think it just eases you into it. You feel relaxed.
Sorry, I was eating a cake. You probably heard it wrap and open up and get chewing and stuff. Sorry about that. I was getting a little too hungry. But yeah, I kind of agree with what they said, and I agree with some of it, not all of it. Sure, the games look nice, but it's still a pretty big game. A decent one just for walking around and nothing else to do. Something like things. At some point, when I was playing this, I actually got kind of bored because I was just slowly walking. Because a lot of times, like, by the time I get bored or something, I get, like, luckily, like, every time, like, it's changed something, like, I was in, like, a cave or something. I was in a mountain, or I was in, like, a boat or something. I was, like, in different places right before I went to get bored of the game. It was like, okay, there's a new zone, and then I was back to being interesting about the game itself. So again, why can't they just add a running speed into commentary version? Why can't they just... Because it takes so long time to... Because imagine a lot of people first time playing this didn't do commentary anymore. Imagine they just played on their own without knowing probably there's no running speed with commentary or no commentary. I think they should have added some kind of commentary or a waypoint system to go to each, like, next thing, like push up on the D-pad or something to go to the next waypoint, the next commentary spot or something. I think they could have done something like that. Or I don't know, the game's nice, but at some point doing this, if I'm doing this every part for 60 minutes, I think at some point I'm gonna get bored of it, even if I'm learning new things about this game and stuff.
The radio mast in Dear Esther was obviously there is a really important kind of design feature, as well as its place within the story. And that, I think, came from, it's really interesting, it being a Half-Life mod to begin with, and the Citadel in Half-Life 2, that it tells you how far you are through the game. You're always looking up to the skyline, am I closer to the Citadel, can I see it? And it lets you know how near you are to the end of the game. And it was really important because Esther's so open in a way, and because there isn't this, you're not using kind of shootouts or kind of gating it with combat encounters to kind of constantly keep you moving. That it was really, really important that you always had that focal point of going, I know exactly from the beginning of the game, virtually right from the start, you know where you're going, you know where the game's going to end up, and you know that sooner or later you're going to be either at the base of the thing or climbing that thing, and it's always there, that red light. And I think particularly with the colour palette of the game, the fact that you've got this very, very, very clear red light that's unlike any of the other colours in the game immediately tells you as a player, this is what the shape of this thing is going to be, this is where I'm going, this gives me a purpose, even if the sort of moment by moment is a bit more abstract.
Yeah, and navigationally as well, it helps you, it draws you in the right direction as you play the game. You can never get lost if you just follow that one landmark.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting place of where that sort of traditional game design is still, there's loads of it in Esther, it's just not necessarily done in quite the same way.
Yeah, okay. But again, they have this yellow one over here that's, kind of distracting, I guess. Like I just went to it and there's nothing. There's just a dead end there. There's nothing else to look at. And really, it's the ocean, I guess. Or I looked at for maybe there's still when I first played it, I looked around to see there probably something else there. But of course, he said there was like randomability or something, randomizer or something, that maybe something was there the first time, but this time there's nothing, I guess. So far, I just can't really tell anything really major difference about the randomizer, really. But I'm never looking as hard, but maybe it's probably at some point, maybe I see something, and maybe I know for sure it's different, I guess. Who naturally knows?
So something you'll notice as you look around the environment is, from a distance you see the landscape. It's kind of a beautiful place in some ways, but something I wanted to bring to the game is that there's this second layer beneath the surface, whereas if you look at things closely, you see that the actual island itself is very polluted. It's kind of very rotten. Everywhere you look, every rock,
It's raw. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Fucking Gordon Ramsay. God damn it. It's raw.
every grass surface, it has this layer of filth on it, and it's kind of been put in there just to kind of emphasize further that this island is a really unpleasant place to live. It's like if you scratch the surface, you see like just how corrupt this island is.
Unfortunately, I have a giant fucking tinker. It's probably more like a cargo ship. Like, crash. Probably. I was kind of storm, and there was a boat in the beginning that you can see when you walk all on the other side. I think that's the way, probably. I want to hit this and then walk around over here, see this is the right way, because that's the way it came from. I know for sure this is the second way you can go from, or if that's the dead end. I'm not really sure.
We cast and did all the voice direction for Esther ourselves for the mod, and it was basically Jess and I on a casting website just listening to people's show reels and finding what's the voice of this thing, and there was never any question about Nigel. I think we heard his show reel for the first time round. It's probably been listened to sort of 30 or 40 actors. And we started listening to his show reel and just both looked at each other and went, that's it, that's him. And it was amazing when Nigel came in. We had, I think, a day and a half to do the whole thing. And he just did that amazing thing that really, really great actors did. If he just walked in, got in front of the microphone, and more or less did the entire thing in one take. And we did hardly any retakes on anything. It just felt like his...
Okay, maybe wrong. I think might have been the right way to go, so I'm going to turn back around and start going the other way. This might be the right way, and the other way might be the dead end, I think.
Instinct for the character in the game was so strong that he just, without virtually any direction, just came in and just got it. And one of the hardest things with the voiceover that we did was when we went from the mod, which had 3 potential narrative units per queue, to 4 potential narrative units per queue, was not only finding new bits of writing that kind of complemented and played off what was there in the original mod, but for Nigel to come back in, nearly 5 years later, and to just find that voice in exactly the same way and deliver it in a way that fitted in and complemented it was a real testament to his ability as an actor, I think. That apart from we had spent quite a lot of time trying to make the sound actually sound the same to the mic placement and things like that. In terms of the actual delivery of those new monologues, you wouldn't know that was both written and acted sort of 4.5 years after the original thing was done. So the one person who's not in the room sort of today but deserves a huge amount of credit for how the game kind of eventually was delivered, but also I think in terms of how the game has lasted, a huge amount of respect needs to go to Nigel Carrington for his work on it.
His name is Nigel Thornberry. Nigel Thornberry. I can't remember old show with that name or something. Now I can't really tell what it says. All I can really did he EHT, I think it says, and then drink some maybe it could be EHTNOR, I think. I can't really understand what it says, but yeah, I think that's what it said last time. So yeah, so this is a dead end, and again, nothing much here except another boat. So this is a third boat, I think you see. Well, it's like the second main small boat, but then a tanker or a cargo ship, you see. And then this weird thing that I don't really know. This is a white line. They talked about white lines earlier, but I'm not sure if that's what they mean by white lines. I don't know, it could be anything. Could be something to help understand this island more. Maybe someone did something. Oh, we can go down here. Can't really see it better. Which fortress? There's some boxes. Or maybe it's different. I don't really know. So yeah, so I guess like you said, like if you go towards the light, then that means you're going the right way. I keep forgetting about that. So that's actually gonna take a little while to get back here now. I was hoping there was another voice thing over there, but so far not. But it hasn't been really going through that way to find anything really major Easter eggs or anything like that, but I think this commentary is a lot more Easter eggy because I don't kind of remember someone talking in this game, but not a whole lot. Like someone talks sometimes. Like, I think there's 2 voices. I could be wrong. Maybe there's only one. Him and his dad, I think, but it could be just him, I think, reading it. But no, that's kind of cool that, you know, even in the little, even when it was a mod, that, because I never played the modded one, I only knew about this game 2 or 3 years ago when they first added it through that Xbox stuff. So I pretty much know nothing about the game until I played it myself and stuff. I know that they had voice actors even in the mod, and now they even have the same voice actor years later to play the same character and stuff. I think that's kind of cool and stuff.
So this hole in the ground was kind of a difficult thing in some ways. It's a bit of a challenging aspect of the game. Because, in some ways, it kind of like, I think for me, we wanted to have this kind of this pit here, and I wanted the player to be able to actually go as close as possible and like look over the edge and you know, kind of have this feeling of dread and stuff. But the other issue that we faced was like, what happens if the player just jumps into the hole? Like we have no real death in the game. And from a design point of view, Dan, I mean, I don't know what you
it was really hard because you know, it was a game where we couldn't let the player die. We didn't want to have respawns, but we had to handle the fact that there would be both accidents where the player would fall off a cliff or something, but also the deliberate urges of the player. Yeah. You know, the first thing you're going to do is go, great, there's an ocean, how far out can I go? Or there's a cliff that's really high, can I jump off it? And how do you have death in a game where you can't have the player die? Because if the player starts breaking up the experience by dying and reloading, then you're in you start breaking the experience a lot. So
yeah, I mean, we didn't want to also have like artificial boundaries, you know, where it's like an invisible wall. Like if you take a look through the game, you'll never see a place where you think you can get to, but you can't. There's always some kind of actual natural boundary or man-made boundary. So yeah, that was the other thing. We didn't really want to create this invisible wall around this thing. So
it kind of the whole drove the way in which that sort of the very weird audio visual, probably one of the most dreamlike bits in the game, where if you do die and you get the kind of the heartbeat and the strange flashes of visuals. And I think in a lot of ways, if we hadn't had the hole there and we hadn't had a place where we go, right, players will jump in this hole, we have to start from that basis, they will throw themselves down this hole, it kind of gave us the impetus to really, really focus on it. And I think the stuff like the drowning deaths and the cliff deaths are strong because the hole was there, and I'm not sure if the hole hadn't been there, whether or not we'd have arrived at that way of handling it, which I'm really proud of. I think it's a really incredibly creative, interesting way of handling a player going out of bounds and of actually being able to reset the game when the player's basically done something you ideally wouldn't want them to do.
Yeah, I kind of think it fits well with the theme of the game as well, because you don't really know what's just happened.
Yeah,
it's not
absolutely.
like it's not like you hear a death sound and then you kind of respawn. It's this kind of like very soft, very ambiguous change. You know?
There was a point in the original mod where if you died, it would do the whole Half-Life major fracture detected.
Yeah.
It always brought a really good tone to the game.
Yeah.
So it's funny they talk about that, because as soon as I played the game the first time, I immediately turn around like, oh, there's water, and I start walking into the water, because I kind of did that, like, see how far I can go, see if there's like, you know, see the world change when you go like halfway into it or something, because I know some games you go into water, and you get the right type of when your character eyes go kind of to the water, you kind of see through everything almost like. So I was trying to see if that happens over mostly it was just blackness and stuff, and I was getting drowned, and then heard a little thing called said, come back! And that was kind of cool. It was like, oh, that's nice. I like those like your dad. Like, no, don't kill yourself just yet, son. You gotta come back and something. I said, I'll tell you my story and stuff. So, I don't know, it's like some of the boundaries, I guess, like, the only time I feel like there's an invisible wall is when I'm trying to go up mountains. And it feels like there's an invisible wall. It doesn't feel like a rock. It's too steep and I can't go into it, but I guess it's supposed to be realistic, so pretty big steep hills you can't really walk on really well, so that's how, but I still, to me, it still feels like it's still an invisible wall, because it doesn't make sense, because a lot of it is all small things. Like, I should be able to like get over this as a human, and be able to jump over it, or walk over it, or step over it, but this guy just, even with the little rock hill, up at me, is like I still can't get over it. So to me, this is still a invisible wall almost, because I can't really get into it.
One of the really important jobs of a composer, I think, is to provide the player or the listener with different emotional tones and states. And up until this point in the game, the music has been very sparse, very intimate, and very isolating in a way.
Yeah, this is actually different. This was not here last time. One of them looked like it was like bread or something. It looked like a here and there. It kind of looks like a head and like an arm or something, and like a body in it. But I guess it's supposed to be just blood stains or something, because I don't think that was there the first time. I think there was nothing there, or it might have been paper. So this is actually different. And I'll just go right back to the commentary for you guys.
But the island is also a beautiful and magnificent place, and what I wanted to do at this point for the first time in the game is to create something that was really epic. So we go from that shift in scale where it's very intimate and small to suddenly realising that this is an extraordinary and magical place to be, as well as a difficult and quite sad and melancholic place to be. So the string players were instructed at this point to play with much more vibrato. Up until this point they've played in a very sort of Scottish style actually, no vibrato, very plain playing. But this was a really beautiful cue to write actually, because that has that scale. You suddenly realise that the island is really big, and you have this beautiful vista, and the music then shifts so the player can actually, just for a moment, I think, enjoy being where they are.
Yeah, I think that's it. Can I come in? Yeah, I was going to say, this is actually one of my favourite parts of the game. It's just where everything, all the elements kind of come together perfectly. You've got the music, which just is just epic, as Jess has said. You've got the landscape, which is kind of like this big open space. You've got all the little bits and pieces that I put into the detail of the environment, like the movement. There's leaves blowing around. There's the clouds in the sky. There's the mist rising off of the grass, and then you've got Dan's voiceover coming in there, and I think it's just like all of these elements coming together and just in perfect synergy and just kind of it really brings chills up your spine.
I guess there's at least one in there. Okay. And yeah, there's another one down there because I was stuck walking all the way back down for that. I don't know if I've been over here yet. Not even in the first time playing. I don't think I'll walk this way. Oh my god. Oh fuck.
Come back.
I didn't mean to do that. Oh shit, my character started moving by itself there for a second. So I don't think this is a way down. Oh fuck. Oh, you son of a bitch. Okay, oof. Okay, so I think that's later in this one. Because I actually got lost a little later, further down there in like the docky area. I was kind of confused where to go, but then I saw that I eventually missed a extra little stairway that was kind of hidden almost. Crap, I was stuck on this. Crap. Again, I can step over it. But apparently this guy cannot. Attention to detail. Okay, let's see what this is all about.
Inside the bothy, there is a randomised chance that you can find an ultrasound picture on the table, and I think it's the one instance of randomisation in the game that is like the pinnacle of it, because the idea that Esther was pregnant when she died changes everything emotionally about how you understand the story. I'm not saying that you don't care as much if you don't find it, but it just adds this other layer of just the ground falls away from him the first time I saw it, and the meaning of the crash and Esther's death just means so much more when you go, it's not just about her, there was an unborn child here. And I think that's where the randomisation just hits its absolute peak, because it's one tiny detail that may or may not be there, but if it's there, it's going to fundamentally change the way you feel about the entire thing. And that's the strength that the randomisation elements in Esther kind of provide, that you go,
Oh, shit,
you're likely kind of feeling about the story and your understanding about the story can be changed so absolutely by the occurrence or not of one tiny little prop detail. And that's something which, those moments I think are what make it really, really special. So it's for me, it's almost like the most important prop in the game, because when it happens, it's so profound.
Yeah, and it's again, it's just something that makes each playthrough more personal, I think. This is what I love reading about, people finding these things and going, holy shit, I've just found this one thing that's going to change it. That's changed my interpretation completely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, so I didn't know about this Dear Esther about maybe brother or something? Or maybe you playing as the father of their wife or something? I don't know, because I thought it was a boy trying to find his father and figure out what happened to his father and stuff. That's what I got out of the story. I didn't remember any female voices, so I didn't really ever connect the whole Dear Esther as a female name. I thought Esther was just a weird name for some dude or your dad or something. I was confused. Because I don't remember what I even remember really about what the story's about. The guy talked a bunch of times, I think, but I can never remember what it was about. Stuff. I think because they didn't have a lot of stuff, I just kind of forgot about what the story was, because I don't know, I can always maybe go back to it at some point if I still have it, because it's a small game. I can always go back and go through it again and see if I really know what the story is about, because I didn't know it was about a female. I thought it was about you trying to figure out what happened to your dad or something. I'm pretty sure it's like the beginning, it's like, I gotta find my dad, or I gotta further on what happened to my dad or why he disappeared and stuff. I thought that's what it was about, not much your mother who disappeared or something.
So as you leave the bothy and the seagull takes off, that's the one jump scare in the game, which is kind of interesting because when we made it, we kind of had to, we kind of called it a ghost story, but there was no intention really. We kind of wanted this dreamy, hallucinatory type thing. But when it came out, people started coming back and saying, this game is absolutely terrifying. I was really, really frightened. And that was really amazing. And I think it's because nothing happens. We're so trained in games to go, there's stimulus all the time, that if nothing happens, you're waiting for something to happen. And kind of, I tend to go back to again and again the whole sequence in Dead Space 2 when you go back to the Ishimura, and it's like the best bit of Dead Space 2 because for what feels like hours, but it's probably only about 15 minutes, nothing happens and no necromorph comes at you, and it's absolutely terrifying because it's just this space and you're just left in it. So I think the kind of the bird here is really interesting because it can actually really, really make you jump. But I don't know if that was part of why people were saying the game was really scary, but it was a real surprise when people started coming back and saying, this is a frightening game. And I don't know how much of that is to do with the ideas in the game are frightening when you think about them, and how much of it is to do with just the emptiness and the lack of kind of things in the game make it a really quite stressful or quite frightening place. But it was a real surprise, I think, that sort of reaction from a lot of players when we shipped it.
I don't know, I don't really intense moments, but the cave was I think the cave, first time being there was a bit creepy and stuff, because there's no weapons, and you can't really defend yourself, so someone coming out to you, I guess, would be kind of scary in games, if you get really into it, but I don't know, I mean, it's been months, I think, since I played it, and it took me a few hours to play it. I think it's done a few hours. I think maybe 2 days, or maybe half of a day, I think, or something. I don't really know, but I don't remember being much scary. I don't really remember the bird. I think that's why it got me again. But yeah.
So one of the things that influenced the visuals quite a lot was the tech limitations at the time, and also the kind of themes of the game. Like, tech-wise, we were never ever gonna kind of achieve photorealism, and I think that was a good thing. I mean, really, it made us sort of stretch out into other areas, and for me as an artist, it kind of made me think a little bit more creatively. I did a few tests at the beginning, and when I realized this wasn't possible, I kind of went back and I kind of did some research on different styles, and one of the ones that really struck me was this kind of impressionistic painterly style, where it's kind of like there's just enough shape and color there for you to form an image, but a lot of it is just your imagination. It's kind of like the believability of the environment is in your mind. So this is something that I really wanted to bring over into the game. And you'll see a lot of landscapes that kind of look very surreal, very kind of unreal, and that's mainly due to this impressionistic style.
Well, it's pretty nice to see that when these things are clipping into the rock, he's going right into it, kind of like destroy the whole atmosphere or whatever by seeing plants just going right into the rock, disappearing.
We should probably talk about some of the inspirations behind it. I'm on a strict you don't talk about Stalker kind of thing going on here. But when Rob and I started talking, I think one of the first things that we kind of discovered was how much we're both obsessed with Stalker. And I think that was one of the major things behind it in terms of when people talk about game inspirations. I mean, for me, there's a lot of FPS stuff in there, Doom, System Shock, but I think Stalker probably more than anything else. And Roadside Picnic, the Strugatsky novel that Stalker's based on, of the idea of this incredible space that you didn't understand, that's simultaneously beautiful and threatening. And I think sort of Tarkovsky's kind of films kind of play into that as well, particularly his version of Stalker, that you want to have this place that you feel rather than think about. And for me, that was like really kind of core to all of the inspirations for the game, was this is a space that is about feeling, not thinking.
Yeah, I think the movies in particular, I think I hadn't watched the movies. I'd read the book, and I played the game, but when I watched the movie, it kind of all made sense to me, like why I like the game so much and why I like the story. It's just like every shot is like a painting. It's like every shot has its story to tell. There's very little dialogue in the actual movie itself. There's just these long...
This makes sense now, since they talked about it was a female and she must have died or something, so this could be her urn, I think they call it, or ashes slash urn and stuff. So I think maybe this is what this is supposed to be. I was hoping there would be some kind of message here talking about it, but I guess maybe they talk about it later, or they don't mention it at all. So maybe it's supposed to be you speculate as a character to say this. Probably, I thought maybe it's supposed to be your dad, since I thought it's supposed to be your trying to figure out what happened to your dad, not your mother. So, or maybe you're the baby inside that maybe was never born. So you're just following her footsteps, I guess. I don't really understand, really.
Lingering shots, and each shot is amazingly beautiful, and in its kind of desolation. And for me, that was like a huge influence, like trying to bring some of that through into the environments. So that is definitely something I'm going to struggle not to talk about. The game as well. I'd say the actual Stalker game has a big place in my heart, like gaming-wise. It's one of the reasons I got into game art in the first place.
Yeah.
So that to me is a big part of it too.
Speaking of stuff, there is a shadow I saw once before, so hopefully it pops up again and I can show you guys it. I think that's one of the things I kind of recorded, like a 30-second thing on Xbox One recorders. Game Record Studio, whatever it's called. I think I'll put some of it. I don't remember if I uploaded it. It's probably all deleted by now. Because I haven't uploaded anything from the studio in months. So if it's still there, I probably still gotta upload it. But all the Silent Hill stuff got deleted already and stuff. I did like 15 days ago and stuff, so I can't upload those if I haven't. I don't think I uploaded them yet. So that sucks already. Hopefully this when I played it the first time is still on the Xbox Live. Videos say that they're much longer, but when you have videos on your Xbox, you didn't on your own Xbox, so it should be there forever.
One of the more interesting and challenging things to do in the visual side of things is to kind of create an emotional connection with the player. With the music, it's very strong, and the dialogue can kind of help you to feel what the character's feeling, but to kind of really create an atmosphere and to create emotion, it's very difficult. So I designed a few things very subtly within the environment to kind of plant imagery into your mind and kind of make you feel certain things. With this shipwreck on the beach, you can kind of, like, if you look at it from certain angles, you get this real, like it's like a cross sticking up. It's this kind of semi-religious imagery, but it really kind of, it's not obvious, it's not in your face, it's just kind of like something that makes you feel like something you know. And so like there's a lot of deliberate attempts in the game to recreate that feeling, and it's kind of hard to point out in many other places, but it's done in a way where every single rock, every single plant, every single cliff face has been deliberately placed and designed in a way to try and make you feel something in the game.
Well, my kind of success behind it, and sometimes they don't really success as much. But there's a lot of noises over there. It was pretty creepy, yes. All the like weird wind noises and like moaning and stuff. Kind of weird.
This is another of my favourite bits in the game, where you come on the edge of the sort of gully and you find hundreds of books, and it's one of the first times where most explicitly there's the suggestion that nothing you're seeing is real, because there's just no way that this can exist, and it's a really amazing, uncanny moment. But it works, I think, for me, because you just go, I don't understand it, but it's lodged somewhere in my head, and I can't get rid of it, and I can't unsee this. And I think for me, like in terms of my influences from books, I mean, there's the obvious sort of stuff like with Burroughs, Cut Up and things like that going on. But it comes to the kind of books that I really love, that, like Roadside Picnic, or the other one by the Strugatskys as well, I absolutely love, is The Ugly Swans, that's just full of these images that you go, I don't understand, I literally have no idea what's going on here, but I can't shake it, it's just got its hooks in me. And I think more recently you've got books like Jeff Vandermeer's Annihilation does this so well, where nothing is understandable, but you feel the logic, but you can't understand the logic, but you feel like the logic's there. And that, I think, is a really powerful thing that games are so good at doing, of creating these things. And I think where a lot of game writing for me becomes kind of the wheels fall off it, is that they have these amazing ideas, and then suddenly there's this huge rush of going, right, we've developed this mythos and we've shown you all the tips of the iceberg, which are really interesting, but now we're just going to show you the whole iceberg. And actually that's never that satisfactory as a player, because it robs the mystery. And I think the best game writing is those kind of moments where you go, I feel like there's something just outside the edge of my vision, or just on the edge of my hearing, but it's the confidence to go, that's it, that's all you get, and the rest of it is up to your imagination. And I think it does loop back to games like Stalker. I think Skyrim at its best does it so well, where you just have these moments where you think, I want to know, but it's going to be down to my imagination to draw those things. And the player's imagination is the most powerful thing you've got in your design kit. There is nothing you can put on screen, there is nothing you can do with audio, there's nothing you can do with dialogue that will ever be as powerful as the player's own imagination. So if you oversell the idea and oversell the image, what you're actually doing is you're kind of not only robbing the player of the opportunity to invest in the game, but you're also fundamentally opting for a weaker tool than what the player can bring to the experience themselves.
I don't know. I think having an empty game is taking all that spin out of it for me. But they would add more stuff, like maybe a puzzle or two, or I don't know, something. I mean, it just feels very plain, and it's hard for me to get into it and stuff a lot. Like, the one game I get really into it until I gave up on it because there were no checkpoints was the Digger Soul to Survive. You start off with not a whole lot of things, and then hours into it you get more and more stuff. And that's something I got really into, because eventually I'd be able to make a medical thing, I'll be able to make a capture team and stuff, and I'm able to get more people to send out survival and stuff. Like, people got sick eventually, and I had to heal them and stuff, and like, I was able to make clean water and better food. Like, I'm keep going further and further out into like the dust and stuff, because I mean, that was more excited or stuff. So something like that wasn't oversaturated. Like something like this is, I think could add a lot more stuff. Maybe a bit more stuff, puzzles, the run-in thing, or the bird thing helped. Okay, sure. But the wind noise and the footstepping noises and like the music can only go so far until a player will get bored of it. So I imagine there's probably a lot of people that enjoy this game, yeah, sure. But I imagine that deep down they don't want to say, yeah, it's a good game, but you know, it got boring every once in a while and stuff.
One of the really important images in the game is the radio mast. And the soundscapes that I wrote for the game are really tied into this idea. So it's the concept of the tortured sounds that they're so broken down, they're so manipulated, and it really is supposed to represent the inner state of the protagonist at this point. It's that fractured understanding. So it kind of works on two levels, actually. We have...
This is the end of the level, I believe, so I'm just going to look around and let this one finish, and then eventually I will fall off. And then this should be the end of this episode of commentary, so let's go back to it, commentary stuff.
The narrator who's trying to understand the journey that he's on, and we also have the audience's journey and their struggle for comprehension to understand what's going on in the game.
Oh fuck!
So
Oh
this
no 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 no
distortion,
no!
this
Oh
breaking down,
fuck!
this fragmented, kind of tortured sound really ties into the idea of the radio mast and that idea of communication, actually, that the game is trying to communicate something to you, the narrator's trying to tell you something, but it's so difficult to understand what that is.
Okay, thank God. I was not meant to fall down except that as soon as I go down there it load up, but luckily it actually let me continue listening to it and let you guys continue listening to it too, so that's nice. I thought there was a lot more there, but maybe I missed something, I don't know. But when I was looking down, it felt like there's a lot more to listen to, but maybe there's more maybe. Okay, this is where we'll save, quit, I guess, save and quit, or just go back to the menu in part 3 at some point, because I did part 1 I think yesterday. Like I said, I'm gonna do these once a day, because doing 2 of them back to back, I would imagine I get super bored of it, and I need some more time to upload more videos to catch up, because I like to upload the 5 or 6 videos of this to be uploaded first, if it's happening before I upload this, because I imagine that'd be a bit confused to upload commentary before I upload my parts. I could maybe try to combine them, because I think there's only like 5 or 6 videos, I think. Could be wrong about how many there is, but I think there's like 5 or 6. But so far it's been pretty good. A lot about music. I want to some more stuff to talk about, so hopefully there's not as much of, because I imagine since now it's a cave, they'll be talking about maybe the water and the water noises and the water like dripping and like the blue, like even like the little shiny thing that hits the wall over there, like all the like glowing bits. I like all that. That's all nice, and like all the other stuff. I hope they'll talk about that stuff too, and hopefully a little bit more of the story, because I thought this was about a story about a son following his dad's footsteps. What happened to him? Not a possibly a dead baby or his or her mother story. So yes, let's just go back to the main menu, and I will end episode 2 of Dear Anne. I can't even remember the fucking name. That's the cursing on this. Sorry about the cursing, people. I try not to do it, especially with commentary stuff. But yeah, I can't remember the name of it. I can try to read it, but I like going laugh up and stuff. And the S is messing me up. If the S wasn't there, maybe I understand what it says. Annie? I'm just gonna call her Dear Annie. So this was episode of Dear Annie of commentary, and I'll be right back at some point with episode 3. Annie? Dear Annie. It's an older name, so that's what's messing me up. It's the ES is messing me up. Because the way how I say it is Ether. I don't know. Oh well, I'm just gonna end it before I just what the fuck? Sorry about the cursor. I'm trying not to do this. Release. I'm a very stupid person, just to let you know. If you listen to this, stop listening to it, please. If you're just here for the commentary stuff, then just click off the video when it gets done. Because this is just stupid stuff right now about myself, really. Reading, I'm not good at reading. ES is messing me up. I'm a ESE student. I'm not a numerous person who can read things. That's why I'm doing YouTube. So it doesn't really help much. Well, this gone downhill major quickly.